Today we are working Psalm 35. In Psalm Magic, Psalm 35 is used for victory in court, also to be vindicated when falsely accused. Psalm 35 is one of the Psalms of justice, and it is also a cursing psalm, so it's quite a versatile psalm. Today we are going to be using Psalm 35 to remove obstacles from our path. Or you can also use the seeds that we find and direct it toward another goal. The way we work Psalm Magic is simple, easy, and effective. We read the psalm in question out loud all the way through once without stopping. This recitation is commonly known as an incantation. After we've finished with the incantation, we go back through the psalm and we consider each verse in turn, and we dig for hidden meanings within each verse. Those hidden or occult meanings we refer to as magic seeds. And by digging and searching and then doing our best to apply what we find there to the situation we've brought to the psalm, we are in effect taking those magic seeds and planting them in the depths of our fertile mind, where they take root, they grow, they blossom forth, and they bear fruit after their kind. And that is precisely what we are going to do right now with Psalm 35. Plead my cause, O Lord, with them that strive with me. Fight against them that fight against me. Take hold of shield and buckler, and stand up for mine help. Draw out also the spear, and stop the way against them that persecute me. Say unto my soul, I am thy salvation. Let them be confounded and put to shame that seek after my soul. Let them be turned back and brought to confusion that devise my hurt. Let them be as chaff before the wind, and let the angel of the Lord chase them. Let their way be dark and slippery, and let the angel of the Lord persecute them. For without cause they have hid for me their net in a pit, which without cause they have digged for my soul. Let destruction come upon him at unawares, and let his net that he hath hid catch himself. Into that very destruction let him fall. And my soul shall be joyful in the Lord, and it shall rejoice in his salvation. All my bones shall say, Lord, who is like unto thee, which deliverest the poor from him that is too strong for him, yea, the poor and the needy from him that spoileth him. False witness did rise up. They laid to my charge things that I knew not. They rewarded me evil for good, to the spoiling of my soul. But as for me, when they were sick, my clothing was sackcloth. I humbled my soul with fasting, and my prayer returned into mine own bosom. I behaved myself as though he had been my friend or brother. I bowed down heavily as one that mourneth for his mother. But in mine adversity they rejoiced and gathered themselves together. Yea, the abjects gathered themselves together against me, and I knew it not. They did tear me and ceased not. With hypocritical mockers and feasts they gnashed upon me with their teeth. Lord, how long wilt thou look on? Rescue my soul from their destructions, my darling from the lions. I will give thee thanks in the great congregation. I will praise thee among much people. Let them not that are mine enemies wrongfully rejoice over me, neither let them wink with the eye that hate me without cause. For they speak not peace, but they devise deceitful matters against them that are quiet in the land. Yea, they opened their mouth wide against me and said, Aha, aha, our eye hath seen it. This thou hast seen, O Lord. Keep not silence, O Lord, be not far from me. Stir up thyself and awake to my judgment, even unto my cause, my God and my Lord. Judge me, O Lord, my God, according to thy righteousness, and let them not rejoice over me. Let them not say in their hearts, Ah, so would we have it. Let them not say, We have swallowed him up. Let them be ashamed and brought to confusion together that rejoice at mine hurt. Let them be clothed with shame and dishonor that magnify themselves against me. Let them shout for joy and be glad that favor my righteous cause. Yea, let them say continually, Let the Lord be magnified, which hath pleasure in the prosperity of his servant. and my tongue shall speak of thy righteousness and of thy praise all day long. Very upset psalmist here. We start with, plead my cause, O Lord, with them that strive with me, fight against them that fight against me. We are taking our lament to the source. What the Psalms calls Lord is translated from Hebrew, the Tetragrammaton, which is Yud-He-Vav-He. The way people often will pronounce Yud-He-Vav-He is Jehovah or Yehovah and other different names, but it was considered the ineffable name of God. It was considered something that was not to be pronounced. It was a secret name of God, so nobody knows for sure how it's pronounced. Yud-He-Vav-He is symbolic of the one source, the one substance, the one force in all the universe. There is none other than this force. It's pre-gender, so to call it father is not accurate. To call it mother is not accurate either. It's pre-gender, and there is nothing but this force. Whoever this force is for, nothing can stand against. And so it's important that we orient ourselves to what we're talking about here for a couple of reasons. One, so that we don't become superstitious about either the Psalms or Yud-He-Vav-He, meaning that there's some sort of being out there. Instead, we understand that it's the force of life that is within us. We are as a beam of light from a central star, so we are connected to this force. We are one with this force, and we're actually an extension of this force. And also, we don't want to be superstitious about the Psalms like a lot of people are, where they think uttering these magic words is going to do something for them. And that's not magical, that's superstitious. And what the magic is in the meanings behind the words. Starting right off, addressing this force, plead my cause, O Lord, with them that strive with me, fight against them that fight against me. Take hold of shield and buckler, and stand up for mine help. We are telling this force what to do. And the force doesn't mind that. The force is actually quite happy to hear this because we're doing something powerful. We're coming to the source of all that is with whatever our trouble happens to be, rather than trying to fix it all by ourselves. Draw out also the spear, and stop the way against them that persecute me, and say unto my soul, I am thy salvation. Whatever these enemies are, whatever these problems are, we are perceiving these problems, or we have perceived these problems as something much bigger than us, and much bigger than the infinite, much bigger than the Lord. And now we are starting to turn things around and recognize, wait a minute, the problem, whatever the issue is, or these people are, if we are making them gods, then we are turning them into idols, and that's on us. That's part of the source of the problem. Let them be confounded and put to shame that seek after my soul. Let them be turned back and brought to confusion that devise my hurt. It's very important that we allow ourselves to feel what we're feeling here. We're very upset about these obstacles, or whatever this happens to be. We are trying to contact the force of all that is and say, annihilate this stuff for me. Annihilate it. I don't want it anymore. Let them be as chaff before the wind, and let the angel of the Lord chase them. So these problems now, we are seeing, whatever these obstacles are, we're seeing them as particles that just blow away in the dust. And the angel of the Lord's wings are going flap, 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 and making them go away, chasing them away, like a big sweeping motion into oblivion. Let their way be dark and slippery, and let the angel of the Lord persecute them. So the angel of the Lord persecuting our problems is a wonderful image, because we recognize the forces for us is on our side, and anything that's standing against us, these problems or these obstacles, are meaningless. And so for us, it can be very satisfying to see that the Lord sends an angel to punish and persecute this problem. Its way is slippery and dark, so it can't find its way back to us. What a wonderful image. For without cause they have hid for me their net in a pit, which without cause they have digged for my soul. This is the ego mind, what it's programmed to do. It didn't just come out of nowhere. We eventually have to take responsibility for the fact that we made up this ego mind. But what happens is when we have made this ego mind up, we can't stop it by ourselves. It's too powerful because we are powerful. It's sort of like what everybody's afraid of with artificial intelligence. They're afraid, well, wait a minute, once the artificial intelligence gets its own identity, then we can't stop it. Well, we've already done that. We did that a long, long time ago with our ego mind or the demiurge. But to the Lord, it's no big deal. To us, we don't know how to fix it, but the Lord does. When it says, for without cause they have hid for me their net in a pit, which without cause they have digged for my soul. That's exactly what we've done to ourselves as our own ego minds. Let destruction come upon him at unawares, and let his net that he hath hid catch himself. Into that very destruction let him fall. That's a very astute and dramatic understanding that all so-called evil will destroy itself. Does destroy itself. When we are calling on this force that is our source, that loves every aspect of our true nature, it's not God's will for us to be going through whatever it is that we're going through. When we are allowing ourselves to step back and let the force work for us, then the evil destroys itself. It folds itself up and goes into the native nothingness from whence it came. And my soul shall be joyful in the Lord, it shall rejoice in his salvation. This is one of those transactional psalms, which are very important for us to understand. This is where we sometimes lose our way. We say, if you do this, Lord, then I'll praise you. If you give me what I want, then I'll praise you. And every time we see that in the Psalms, we have to remind ourselves what the law of cause and effect is. We have to praise in order that these things happen, because the ball must be started rolling by us. We must be the ones to make the first move. When we praise the Lord, that simply means that we are acknowledging enthusiastically that which is good. We have to get our minds in the right place first, and then we can let the infinite work on our behalf. But if we say, well, I'm going to withhold praise until I get what I want, you're going to be waiting forever. And it's not because the Lord says, wait a minute, you need to stroke my ego first and then I'll give you what you want. That's not it. It's that the Lord knows how cause and effect works. You must start the praise in order for the magic to start. That's your waving of your wand. That's your abracadabra. That's your sprinkling of the powder. You have to do it. And the Lord waits for you until you do that. Ultimately, we don't want the Lord to wait for us. We want to wait on the Lord. So we do our part right away, which is praise. And remember, praise doesn't mean talking about how wonderful some deity is. That's not what praise the Lord means. Praising the Lord means acknowledging enthusiastically that which is already good in our lives. And before I get off this verse, it says, and my soul shall be joyful in the Lord, it shall rejoice in its salvation. The trick is if you start giving thanks and praise for the fact that it's already occurred, it's instantaneous that things happen for you. If you can put that in the past, thank you that this has happened, thank you that I've gotten what I want, your magic manifests very quickly. But if you wait to give the thanks until you see the manifestation, you're going to be waiting forever. All my bones shall say, Lord, who is like unto thee, which deliverest the poor from him that is too strong for him, yea, the poor and the needy from him that spoileth him. All my bones shall say, that's everything that holds you up. Everything you believe is your structure in your life, your internal structure especially, the things that you believe, the faith that you have, the things that you think you know. You're going to turn all of those ideas to thoughts of praise and thanks. All your bones are going to say, Lord, who is like unto thee? Nothing is like unto the Lord. There's only one. Which deliverest the poor from him that is too strong for him, yea, the poor and the needy from him that spoileth him. And those are your problems. Those are those obstacles on your path that you feel are just too big and too scary or too mean or too awful. Whether they're people, whether they're circumstances, whether they're conditions in your body, whatever these things happen to be, the Lord has a way. The force already has it figured out. False witnesses did rise up. They laid to my charge things that I knew not. So false witnesses that rose up against you may have happened in the world. And if that's true, then you can bring those to mind. But regardless of whether they happened in the world or not, whether people are lying about you in the world or not, you've been lying about yourself. You've been thinking that you're an ego. You've been thinking that you're a separate little entity. You've been thinking that you're not good enough. You've been thinking that you're small and insignificant. You've been thinking all kinds of stuff about yourself that's not true. It's a wonderful thing to acknowledge that, to so-called confess that, so that you can stop doing that. They rewarded me evil for good to the spoiling of my soul. And that's exactly what that kind of egoic thinking does for you. You think you're being humble when you do that, and you get smacked in the face. You think you're being humble when you think that you're not good enough. I was just sitting here minding my own business, thinking about what a poor, miserable sinner I am. And then all of a sudden, it just happened. You're not a sinner. You're not poor. You're not bad. None of that's true. Now, your circumstances may dictate that all of those things are true, but that's because you're living in a world of lies. The first step in uncovering those lies and being delivered from the physical experiences of those lies is to learn the truth about yourself. And the truth about yourself is not the false witnesses that you've been allowing to rise up within your mind about you. But as for me, when they were sick, my clothing was sackcloth. I humbled my soul with fasting, and my prayer returneth into mine own bosom. The sackcloth is a garment of penance in these old Semitic religions. That and fasting and prayer, that's how you purify your soul from your sins. Instead of thinking, oh, I'm a sinner and I have to purify myself with sackcloth, which is really an uncomfortable thing to wear, and with fasting and with praying, you can use the idea of the sackcloth, the fasting, and the praying, but only to the degree that what you're doing is removing yourself from the lies. You're purifying from your mind the lies that you've been believing about yourself in the world. The individual sins, so-called, are results of you having such low self-esteem. The main sin, if you're going to use that word, is believing that you were separate in the first place, believing that you were lowly, believing that you weren't good enough, believing all of those things. That's the ego's game. It's convinced you that those things are humility, thinking those things, when in actuality, that's the height of arrogance. What's humble is to say, I didn't create myself. The infinite created me and creates me in the moment. And the infinite's perfect, so therefore I must be perfect, at least as a soul. So if I recognize that the being I was created as is perfect, then anything that's not perfect didn't come from that source. It came from something else. And the only something else that there could be is that part of my own mind that projects things onto the screen of space based on ideas of separation, which are lies. I behaved myself as though he had been my friend or brother. I bowed down heavily as one that mourneth for his mother. We think that our ego mind is our friend. We think all of these things that we come up with about ourselves in the privacy of our own minds, thinking by ourselves and not in connection with our inner guidance, we think that all of that is okie dokie. We have fallen under the spell that what the ego says to us is our own thinking, when it's not our own thinking. It's hallucinating. It's just a bunch of regurgitation of nonsense played again and again and again and again. And that's not thinking. That's not your thoughts. It's projective garbage that the ego keeps recycling in your mind. And the ego is very brilliant, so it can put on all kinds of new forms and new ways of saying the same garbage over and over again. But it's all the same stuff. You're separate. You're not good enough. Everything's horrible. You should be afraid, very afraid. All of those ideas. I bowed down heavily as one that mourneth for his mother. It's also the idea that you're bowing down to this ego mind as if it is your creator. Coming up with ideas about ourselves which don't jive with the truth about who we are, which is that we are perfect as we were created, and we are beloved, and we are stars, and we're powerful. Anything that doesn't look like that, we have to not take ownership of it anymore, not bow down to that. But in mine adversity they rejoiced and gathered themselves together. Yea, the abjects gathered themselves together against me, and I knew it not. They did tear me and ceased not. Now, if you're having people do this to you in this world, this psalm is designed to take care of that for you. But you have to understand that the people that are doing this are projections of your mind. They didn't just come out of nowhere. So until you can fully take responsibility for the source of it in your mind, at best, you're going to be getting temporary relief. But then when the stuff comes back, it's going to come back even worse because you haven't dealt with the cause. Yes, we want to take care of the stuff in your life, but we want to take care of the stuff in your life by taking care of the thought forms, which are the source of these things. But in my adversity they rejoiced and gathered themselves together. Yea, the abjects gathered themselves together against me, and I knew it not. And they did tear me and ceased not. That's our own self-loathing, our own self-hatred. And what's really annoying about all of this is the ego mind wants you to think, you don't hate yourself. No, you love yourself. It's so cunning. It's so sly the way it does that kind of thing. But if it's not loving, it's not the Lord. If it doesn't think you're just fabulous, then it's not the source, it's the ego. It's the demiurge. It's something else. Any of those mean, judgy thoughts about yourself don't come from the infinite. But we're responsible for what the ego does because it is our mind, and we are making the choice each time which voice we're listening to. With hypocritical mockers in feasts, they gnashed upon me with their teeth. Think about how hypocritical the ego is, how much it hates you. Self-hatred, self-loathing. If you can get to the bottom of the self-hatred and the self-loathing by doing this psalm, everything changes, including whatever you brought to the psalm. But not only will those things get cleaned up in your life, they're not coming back in a different form this time. Lord, how long wilt thou look on? Rescue my soul from their destructions, my darling from the lions. I will give thee thanks in the great congregation. I will praise thee much among people. Let not them that are mine enemies wrongfully rejoice over me, neither let them wink with the eye that hate me without a cause. Again, with our transactional idea of the Lord. If you do this for me, everybody's going to hear how wonderful you are. Doesn't work that way. And by the way, the infinite doesn't care that you tell everyone about how wonderful the infinite is. All the infinite cares about is that you're happy, and it knows that you can't be happy unless you're praising. Think of it this way. All prayer is praise. All prayer is praise. So if you want something, praise. Praise something. Praise whatever the thing is that you want in your life. Praise that it's coming. Praise the source that's bringing it to you. If you want something out of your life, praise the source that's eliminating it from you. That's how you do it, through praise. And then when you give thanks in the great congregation, what you're doing is giving thanks within your own mind, and you're telling all your thoughts. We are grateful. We are enthusiastic about how happy we are. We are enthusiastic in our acknowledgement of how wonderful things are. No matter what seems to be happening outside of ourselves, especially when things aren't going our way in the physical world, that's when we amp it up. Let them not that are mine enemies wrongfully rejoice over me, neither let them wink with the eye that hate me without a cause. For they speak not peace, but they devise deceitful matters against them that are quiet in the land. You know it's the ego when it can't be at peace. That's the one thing the ego can't fake. It can't fake peace. It can't exist in peace. That part of your mind that can't relax and can't shut up, that's not you. That's your ego mind. That part of you is devising deceitful matters against you. That's its goal. That's how it was programmed. But you've got to also remember not to be paranoid about your own ego because it's under your control. You made it. Unfortunately, you can't destroy it. Because of the way it's been devised. You're so smart, you're so genius, you've given yourself no way out. But the infinite isn't subject to any of that. So that's why you go to the infinite for help with this stuff rather than trying to do it all by yourself, because you can't, because of the fact that you're so brilliant. Yea, they opened their mouth wide against me and said, Aha, aha, our eye hath seen it. Whenever it says aha, aha in the Psalms, that's mockery. That's mockery. Whatever mean things that you say to yourself about yourself, and you say, oh, wait a minute, I have to have higher self-esteem, it'll say, okay, so we're going to say mean things about other people then. It doesn't matter to the ego as long as it's somehow mocking the innocent child of the infinite. Anytime you're hearing that aha, aha, in whatever form it shows up, we're talking about that ego mind that is the source and substance of all of these things that we're trying to get rid of. This thou hast seen, O Lord. Keep not silence, O Lord. Be not far from me. And that's an acknowledgement that the infinite is never far from you because you are one with it. Again, with the image of the beam of light from a star. There's no separation there. You don't have a separate beam, separate from the star. Just because your ego has convinced you that you're all alone and that if there is a God, it's very, very far away, even though that's been your experience of the world based on the fact that you believe that you're separate, doesn't make it so. It just means that you're living in a nightmare because you are believing that, and because your mind is so powerful that it can create that experience for you. But it's not true. So the closest thing to you is your source, is your creator. And when you just sit and contemplate that and know that that's true, you've saved yourself thousands of years of reincarnation trying to figure all this stuff out. Stir up thyself and awake to my judgment, even unto my cause, my God and my Lord. The infinite doesn't need to stir itself up because the infinite's already at full throttle. There are no little and big, soft and loud. It's all just oneness, but you can stir yourself up. You can stir up your enthusiasm. You can stir up your own magic dust within you. What you want to stir up is not, now I'm going to attack this problem. No, you want to stir up your enthusiastic praise of what is good in your life, of the source of all your life. Judge me, O Lord, my God, according to thy righteousness, and let them not rejoice over me. When we are asking for the Lord to judge us, we are saying, sort this out for me. Show me what part of my mind is real and what part of my mind is ego. Showing me what the reality of myself is. That's the judgment of God. God judges you all the time. And God's judgment is always that you are fabulous. Fabulous. There's no part of you that's not fabulous. That part of the Gnostic Mass from Crowley, there is no part of me that is not of the gods. That's what that means. There's no part of you that's not divine. Now, the part of you that believes that you're not divine doesn't exist. Isn't that nice to know? It doesn't exist. It has absolutely no reality other than in the realm of a hallucination or a nightmare. Let them not say in their hearts, ah, so would we have it. Let them not say, we have swallowed him up. Well, that's the ego's goal, is to swallow you up. The ego's goal is for you just to die and to go away into nothingness. But you see, the ego is insane. It's trying to make something happen that can't happen. Sure, you can kill the body. Sure, you can kill the personality, but you can't kill the soul. It's unassailable. If you are at one with the source and not listening to the ego and not allowing the ego free rein, the ego has no power over you. And that's your choice. You get to choose that. Let them be ashamed and brought to confusion together that rejoice at mine hurt. Let them be clothed with shame and dishonor that magnify themselves against me. Now again, if there are people out there causing you problems and you're using this as a curse, these people will be taken care of. But your job is to internalize this and take it personally. Understand that you're the source of part of this. Your ego mind at least is. And so now you're disciplining your mind. Allow your ego to be shamed. Allow your ego to be disconnected from you. Put back into the native nothingness out of which it came. But you can't do that for yourself. You have to allow it to be done for you. And that's what we're doing with this psalm. Let them shout for joy and be glad that favor my righteous cause. Yea, let them continually say, let the Lord be magnified, which hath pleasure in the prosperity of his servant. Them that are shouting for joy are all your thoughts. You can think about it as all of the host of heaven, all the angels, they're all on your side, by the way, all of them. All they want is you to succeed and be happy. And anytime you make a step in the right direction, listen for the champagne corks popping in heaven as they're having the party. Shout for joy and be glad that favor my righteous cause. Remember, all of the angels in the host of heaven favor your righteous cause. They all want you to be happy. Let them continually say, let the Lord be magnified, which hath pleasure in the prosperity of his servant. You're the servant of God. How do you serve God? By being in the moment, by following guidance, by doing what you're guided to do. And what's the reward for that? You get to be happy. You're serving your own happiness when you do that. And my tongue shall speak of thy righteousness and of thy praise all the day long. Well, finally, we get to the shortcut. If you just do verse number 28, the rest of it's taken care of. My tongue shall speak of thy righteousness and of thy praise all day long. Now, the tongue is not only the way that you utter words in the physical world, but it's also your inner speech. And so if you discipline yourself to stay on the topic of praise and stay on the topic of righteousness, then you're on the beam where all of these blessings occur. Righteousness means sanity, right-mindedness. Sanity is equivalent to peacefulness, peace of mind. The peace of mind is also the same thing that in the New Testament was called the kingdom of heaven. It's really basic. There's nothing superstitious about any of this. It means the more peace of mind that you experience, the more you are in your right mind, righteous. And the more you are in your right mind, the easier it is for you to access all of the blessings from the so-called kingdom of heaven and from the source of your life. So you just keep coming back to the same psalm once a day until you get a sense of peace and certainty that whatever the problem is that you brought to the psalm is working itself out. You're not worried about it anymore. You have trust and faith and certainty that it is working out. Once you get that click, you know that your spell is cast and you can just forget all about it and move on to something else. Thank you so very much for joining me today. Until next time, blessed be.